Hey there and welcome back to NBA 2K18's My League mode. My name is Pete and today we complete another episode of our NBA 2K18 My League expansion series, in which we will move past the All-Star break and the contract extension deadline, and then into that all-important final stretch of games in March and April. But before we get to that, it's time for All-Star Friday night, and with that, time for the Rising Stars Challenge. The best first and second year players of the league will go head to head, and the Louisville Legionnaires actually have two of their guys participate, as Flanders will start at shooting guard for the Stars, and Mitch Dennis will play small forward for the Elites. And because of that, I also didn't want to pick sides and let the CPU play this one out, and in the end it was Dennis and the Elites who came away with the victory. This game was an easy double-digit win for them, and Mitch Dennis actually played a pretty big role in that, as he led the Elites in scoring with 22 points, including 4 3-pointers. Mostly because of Dennis's poor shooting performance, however, the stat line of the night probably belongs to Boston Celtics rookie Ivan Bautista, who finished the game with a very efficient double-double and made his presence known both on offense and on defense. His final stat line for the night: 18 points, 11 rebounds and 5 rejections. From the Legionnaires' perspective then, more good news if we look at the Stars, where the scoring leader is once again one of our own. Flanders finished with 21 points, just 1 point shy of his teammate Dennis, and followed by a nice stat line from Lakers rookie Jamon Sheridan, who finished the game with 19 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists and 2 steals. Moving on, it is now time for All-Star Saturday night, the night of the 3-point shootout and the slam dunk contest. In the 3-point shootout, we see a couple of familiar faces and also a new one in first-time contestant Luka Doncic, while last year's winner Klay Thompson is unfortunately missing due to injury. Doncic, however, would not make it into the final round. Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard would also miss with pretty bad shooting performances, while Kemba Walker, Steph Curry and James Harden are the 3 finalists. And starting us off is Curry, who we can see is on an absolute scoring tear this season, averaging just shy of 32 points per game. His final score of a ridiculous round was also close to that, as Curry finishes with 31 points after missing only 3 of his shot attempts. That should be pretty hard to beat already, but maybe our back-to-back MVP James Harden can do it. And despite a pretty good shooting performance of his own, Harden does not quite make it. 27 points are his final score, 2 more than in the first round, but not enough to take the lead. Kemba Walker now the third and last guy in the final round. He had the highest score in round number 1 with 26. This time, however, he does not quite get there. 23 points are his final score, and with that we have our winner. Congratulations to Steph Curry for winning the 2021 3-point shootout. Up next, we now have the dunk contest, where we will see Chris McCullough, last year's winner Miles Bridges, third-year player from the Suns Troy Brown, and once again Lakers rookie Jamon Sheridan. And yes, despite being injured, Bridges would actually compete. However, as is tradition already, I was unable to record anything. The dunk contest crashed midway through 5 or 6 times in a row, so in the end I had to simulate, and you can see it on the right here, Chris McCullough eventually takes the crown. And with that, we have already reached the final day of the All-Star weekend. However, it is arguably the most prestigious one. As it is now time for East versus West, it is time for the All-Star game. And once again, we do have a participant from the Legionnaires in the form of Anthony Davis, who I think has more than earned his spot in the starting lineup. Luka Doncic, by the way, makes his 3rd All-Star game appearance in his 3rd year in the league, and we also see the Washington Wizards backcourt duo of John Wall and Bradley Beal represented. The Western All-Stars are then headlined by the usual suspects, with 3 teams actually being represented twice, as Westbrook and George make it for the Thunder, Lillard and McCollum for the Trailblazers, and the aging veterans Mike Conley and Marc Gasol for the Memphis Grizzlies. And that Western team was actually also able to triumph over the East. It was a pretty close finish. However, for the East, Anthony Davis had to put up more or less a one-man show, which wasn't quite enough to get his team past a very balanced West. And we can see that balance on display here. 8 Western Conference players scored in double digits, and their best scorer tonight was Blake Griffin, who remained perfect from the field on his way to 16 points. AD, like I mentioned, was the only dominant player on the East. His final stat line: 26 points, 10 rebounds and 2 blocks. Easily good enough to make him the best player in the game tonight, but unfortunately not good enough to get the win. And so here we are, we now leave the All-Star weekend behind us, and we head into one of the final games of February, as we take on none other than the Golden State Warriors. Our first game of the season against them was a loss in a nail-biter that eventually went to overtime, and today's game also came to a very close finish. In the end, Mohamed Bamba came up huge in the final moments, recording a steal and a big block to seal the game, and to give the Legionnaires a 4-point victory. Despite Bamba's performance, however, the man of the match, that was Anthony Davis, who finished with a terrific stat line with a 30-point, 15-rebound double-double. Flanders and Richardson added 22 and 20 respectively, both of them also very good on the boards, which definitely helped us secure the victory. Coming off of that victory, we immediately travel to Toronto next, where we take on these somewhat struggling Raptors. We already won the first matchup of the season, and when I say struggling, I mean it. Despite a very solid roster, the Raptors are only 15th in the East right now, and so it should come to no one's surprise that this game was another easy victory. The Raptors only shot 36% from the field and a horrible 18% from deep, and even though our shooting was nothing spectacular, it was definitely good enough to beat them comfortably. Once again, we see AD at the top of the scoring list with 24 points, 13 rebounds and 5 assists, while Richardson scores 17, Bamba only misses one shot on his way to 16, Flanders scores 15 off the bench, and after many attempts and quite a few misses, Dennis shoots his way up to 10. And so here we are, still firmly in control of the Eastern Conference as we head into our final game of February against the Orlando Magic. And the Magic are actually even worse than the Raptors, currently the 16th seed in the East. We have a 2-0 record against them already, and so I expected another easy win. However, the game actually went to overtime, and in that overtime period the Magic shot lights out from deep and were able to come away with a narrow 3-point victory, ending the Legionnaires' 6-game win streak. Our big man Davis and Bamba led the team in scoring, rebounding and shot blocking tonight. Davis with the slightly better stat line here with 24 points, 12 rebounds and 3 blocks. Bamba on the other hand was a bit more efficient on his way to 21 points, 11 rebounds and also 3 blocks. Our wings Flanders, Richardson and Hood round off the list of double-digit scorers. However, especially Flanders did not have a great night, shooting only 5 of 20 from the field on his way to 16 points. And jumping into March, we are about to pass the contract extension deadline. However, we do not want to do that just yet, because we still haven't decided what to do with Dante Exum. 2 episodes ago I asked you guys about him, most of you were in favor of re-signing him, but there were also some good arguments to wait until the off-season. Eventually I decided to wait until the list of upcoming free agents at the point guard was locked in, just so we can see whether or not we can actually get a significant upgrade in the off-season. However, if we go down the list of point guards who will become free agents after the season, then we can see the only players on this list who will not become restricted free agents asking for a ton of money are Mike Conley, Kay Felder, Frank Mason, Dennis Schroeder, Drew Holiday and Jeremy Lin. And realistically, only Conley and maybe Kay Felder would be a noticeable upgrade over Exum, but Conley is getting up there age-wise and will of course also still demand a lot of money, while Kay Felder is 5'9" and we have already had our fair share of experiences with undersized point guards, and going forward I do not want to repeat those. The rest of the list here, like I said, restricted free agents coming off their rookie deals. They will all be looking for contracts at or above the 20 million mark, and for pretty much all of them I expect their teams to match any offer sheet we can put together. By the way, quick note off topic at this point, if you are interested in that whole contract extension thing, especially for rookies like these who come off their first contracts, then I can highly recommend the August 9th episode of the Dunked On podcast by Nate Duncan, which is a fantastic NBA podcast that I've been listening to for a while now, and in that podcast a few of the NBA players coming off of their rookie deals are discussed. It really gives an interesting perspective of what both teams and players demand during those discussions, and like I said, if that's something that sounds interesting to you, then go check it out. I have left a link to the episode in the description. Now back to the situation at hand. As you can see, if we were to wait until the offseason, our options would be pretty limited. On top of that, even if we don't re-sign Exum, we still would only have about $6 million of cap space going into free agency, so without trading away one of our core players, we wouldn't be able to make any big moves anyway. All of that makes me fairly confident that re-signing Exum right now is the best option we have available, so let us do exactly that. What we'll offer him is a 3-year extension with a team option for year 3 on a team-friendly salary of $6.3 million a year. There is also a very good reason for the length of the contract, as the 2 guaranteed years will run out at the same time as the rookie deals of Flanders and Dennis, so should we need cap space in that year, we could decline the option for year 3, and even if we take it, Exum's contract would then run out with AD and Bryce Johnson, so if we decide to take the team in a different direction that year, we would not have any additional salary committed at that point. And that is the deal, and one that is good enough for Exum to accept it, and with that we lock down our current starting point guard for the next 2, maybe even for the next 3 seasons. And with that we can now also move past the contract extension deadline and head into our first game of March as we host the Milwaukee Bucks. As you can see on the right, the Bucks are still in the playoff race and it's certainly not getting easier for them. Our season series is currently tied at 1 game apiece, but today's game resulted in a decisive 13-point victory. And this game actually reminded me a lot of the Western Conference in the All-Star game, as the win came behind a very strong team effort with 7 double-digit scorers on the Legionnaires side, a team performance that the Bucks were not able to answer. Our top scorer of the night with a very efficient 7 of 10 from the field was Josh Richardson, followed by Anthony Davis, who put up another double-double, and by Bryce Johnson, who missed only 2 shots from the field on his way to 19 points. Last game of the week already against the Los Angeles Lakers, against whom we secured ourselves a big overtime victory in the first game, and this one also was a close affair, but one that we ultimately win without heading to overtime. The X factor in this game was definitely our bench production, as 3 of our top 5 scorers came off the bench tonight. Mitch Dennis leads the way with a fantastic shooting performance and 21 points in only 19 minutes, followed by Andre Flanders with a versatile 18, 5 and 4. Anthony Davis puts up another double-double with 15 and 12. Recently re-signed Dante Exum scores 12 with 4 assists, and as the third bench player in the top 5 here, Bryce Johnson finishes with 10 points and 5 rebounds. Off to Atlanta for the next one as we look to get our 3rd regular season victory against the Hawks. The first 2 games were 2 fairly decisive affairs. Still, as you can see on the right, the Hawks are in a decent position in the Eastern Conference playoff race. This game tonight, however, would hurt their chances a bit, as the Legionnaires burn down an absolute offensive firework and once again win in dominant fashion by 44 points, 129 to 85. And we actually had not 1 but 2 30-point scorers in this game. This is also something I believe we haven't seen yet from this team. Andre Flanders bounces back from a few off games with 32 points on a ridiculously efficient 10 of 13 from the field, while Anthony Davis comes in close behind with 31 points and 9 rebounds. The 2 of them also combined for 17 of 20 from the free throw line, which definitely also played a significant role in tonight's victory. Coming off of that victory, we now face one of those teams that I believe we have developed a bit of a rivalry with. I am of course talking about none other than the reigning champions, the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavs have quietly snuck up to us and are currently the 2nd seed in the East. They are currently on an 8-game win streak and still one of the most dangerous teams in the league. Still, the season series currently stands 2-1 in our favor, but that would change in tonight's game. With 2.1 seconds left in the game, Luka Doncic nails the game-winning jump shot that you can see right here. The Legionnaires were not able to respond with a basket of their own, and so the Cavaliers' win streak continues as they win the game by 2 points. Our 2 best scorers then are familiar faces at the top of the list. Anthony Davis finishes the game 1 rebound shy of a double-double with 25 points and 9 rebounds, and Richardson shoots a strong 7 of 11 from the field on his way to 20 points. And with that, we already jump into the final game of the episode. The 3rd seed in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves, await, but we took the first game against them already, and this one was no different. Or maybe it was, because the victory here tonight was absolutely brutal. This game was a blowout like I haven't seen in a long time. The game was pretty much over at halftime. It was actually a record-setting performance in more than one way. Not only did the Legionnaires score a whopping 152 points, but we also once again had 7 players in double digits, and Mitch Dennis sets a new career high for himself with 30 points in 25 minutes. Dennis only missed 3 shot attempts from the field, completely overshadowing extremely good shooting performances from the rest of the team. Performances, for example, like Andre Flanders, who went 11 of 17 from the field for 25 points, or Anthony Davis, who only missed 6 shots himself on his way to a big double-double with 24 points and 14 rebounds. And as if this dominant victory wasn't good enough already, the best is yet to come, because with the victory, the Louisville Legionnaires actually become the first team in the NBA to clinch a playoff spot. Yes, we still have 15 games left to play, but the Legionnaires are safely in the playoffs, currently on pace by the way for a 58-59 win season, so with a bit of luck they might even crack the magical mark of 60. And I would say that is now the perfect time to wrap the episode up. In only their 4th season in the league, the Legionnaires have already clinched a playoff spot for the 2nd time in a row, this time however as the clear 1st seed, and at least going by win-loss record also as the best team in the league. Next time we'll see whether or not that holds up throughout the remainder of the season. For today though, as always, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and of course if you did, then please leave a thumbs up. By the way, at this point also a big thank you to all the subscribers. We've just reached 20,000 a few days ago. The channel is growing at a fantastic pace these last few weeks, and even though the numbers on this series are slowly trickling down, it definitely still played a huge part in making the channel what it is today. So if you want to support the channel and haven't subscribed already, then by all means feel free to go ahead and do that. Otherwise you can of course also check out and maybe pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.